Ink Ribbon.
Metal Gear Solid is famous for being one of the most influential video games ever made, and the amount of lore within it could be its own iceberg. But I decided to revisit it, and instead of taking a closer look at characters as I usually do, instead we're going to take a closer look at where this incredible game takes place. Kept you waiting, huh? Also, I don't normally give spoiler warnings, but if you haven't played Metal Gear Solid or Metal Gear Solid 4, then you should really wait until you have, because the story is just so good. And this video does have massive spoilers in it. So with all that out of the way, from Night Vision P to PTSD, here are 50 facts about Shadow Moses. Shadow Moses is an island located in the Alaskan archipelago, southwest of the mainland in the Bering Sea. The island houses the base where all of the events of the first Metal Gear Solid game take place. Even though the game came out in 1998, the story and the setting all take place in February of 2005, specifically February 28th, which happens to be my birthday. At the beginning of the game, in addition to his sneaking suit, Naomi confirms that she gave Snake an injection to prevent him from freezing.
How's that sneaking suit working out?
I'm nice and dry, but it's a little hard to move.
Bear with it. It's designed to prevent hypothermia. This is Alaska, you know.
Take it easy, I'm grateful. If it weren't for your suit and your shot, I would have turned into a popsicle out there.
An anti-freezing peptide, Snake. All of the genome soldiers in this exercise are using it.
The average temperatures for that region at night are around 18 degrees Fahrenheit or -1 Celsius, so it would be extremely cold. Apparently Meryl doesn't mind the cold. In Super Smash Bros. Brawl, Snake was introduced as a new fighter, along with Shadow Moses as a stage. While playing as Snake on this stage and performing a taunt, Snake will call various people on his codec and they'll have conversations about whoever Snake's opponent is.
Mei Ling, Samus took her clothes off.
That's just her in the Zero suit, Snake.
Oh, without that bulky power suit, she's gotten a lot more agile. I bet if I took off all this heavy gear, I could catch her.
Throughout Shadow Moses are 3 trucks, one at the helipad, one in the nuclear building, and one in the snowfield. Depending on which cardboard box you equip, you can use them to fast travel between locations.
Is this all there is to load? The nuclear warhead storage, huh?
When crawling through the air vents, you can spot Meryl working out. If you leave and come back, she will be doing different workouts each time. If you keep doing this, she will then cycle through them again, but this time without pants on. In Otacon's lab, there's a desk with a game console on it, depending on what version you're playing it on. In the original, there's a PS1, but if you notice, it's black. This is because the console for dev kits used by developers were also black. In the Twin Snakes, the PlayStation is replaced with a GameCube and has a hidden Yoshi and Mario figure nearby. If you shoot them, you'll hear a 1-up sound and gain a bit of health. Also in Otacon's lab is a poster of the game Police Knots. This was one of Kojima's earlier games that was only released in Japan. The jingle that plays during the Konami logo is also a reference to it. The support team and communication with Snake are all aboard the USS Discovery, which is situated in the ocean nearby. These include Campbell, Naomi, and Mei Ling. Nastasha calls from her home in LA, and Master Miller is calling from somewhere very close by. The British rock band Bring Me the Horizon released a song in 2013 called Shadow Moses, and is named after the location in Metal Gear. It reached number 2 on UK rock and metal charts. In VR Mission's Mystery Mode, the final mission has a ton of random things to look at. Among these are a nice little reference to Resident Evil, in the form of a green herb in the corner, a blue herb by the fireplace, and a red herb on the bookshelf. If Snake is in the women's restroom, calling any male character will have them simply tell Snake to keep searching for Meryl.
Meryl must be hiding somewhere in there. Search around.
Colonel, I saw your niece, but
Really? Where?
she went in the ladies' bathroom. That's strange. I saw her go in, but now she's nowhere to be found.
You'll just have to look in the stalls, I guess.
But calling any of the female characters will result in them getting pretty angry at Snake for being in there.
Snake, that is a woman's bathroom. You should not be in there.
But I saw Meryl go in here.
Even so, Snake.
This is our only chance to talk alone together. I was sure she was in here.
Snake, that's a ladies' bathroom.
I know that. I saw Meryl come in here.
So you went in after her? Are you some kind of pervert? I won't let you save your mission now.
Listen, Mei Ling, this is the only place on the base that I can talk to Meryl alone.
Whatever, weirdo. Don't call me again.
After defeating Liquid in the Hind D, once in the snowfield, if you look over this fence, Snake can spot a parachute, implying that Liquid survived the crash. This has become a bit of a plot hole due to the fact that a Hind D doesn't feature any sort of ejection system, and as Snake comments, Liquid would have been chopped up by the blades if he tried to jump out. Also in the snowfield, after switching discs, if you come back to where Sniper Wolf's body was, she'll be gone and in her place will be a very happy and energetic wolf pup. It's not confirmed, but widely believed that the young wolf is actually Sniper Wolf reincarnated. In Metal Gear Solid 4, after defeating Crying Wolf in the same field, a wolf will come and carry her away. It's also theorized that this wolf is the same wolf pup, now grown up, and if you defeat her with non-lethal tactics, the wolf will display a faint heart over its head. One of the changes made in Twin Snakes was adding a faster way to change the PAL card. Near where Rex is housed, you can hang from a ledge and drop to a platform that has some nitrogen pipes, which Snake can use to freeze the key. In the Twin Snakes are new briefing files that you can watch, which are an extended version of Snake getting briefed and prepped for the mission. If you watch every single one, there will be a secret cutscene where Snake will borrow Naomi's scissors.
I need to borrow your scissors.
What are you going to do?
Don't worry, just gonna clean myself up a little.
Huh?
I don't want to be mistaken for the leader of the terrorists.
The mice that you encounter around Shadow Moses are Alaskan field mice, which, as the name implies, are native to Alaska. They stay warm by digging tunnels underground, and they can hold their breath underwater for up to 3 minutes. Snake will mistakenly refer to ravens as crows until corrected by Master Miller, which will then correct all codec calls afterwards. Also, the ravens may seem to have been brought by Vulcan Raven, but they are actually a common bird in Alaska, even living there year-round. Killing the rats or ravens found around Shadow Moses will prompt some angry responses from the codec support team, with Naomi even suggesting that Snake may be a psychopath.
Snake, we're not paying you to be a scarecrow, you know.
Poor things. Ravens are God's creatures too, Snake. Snake, is killing rats really that fun? Torturing small animals is a sign of a warped mind, you know.
In the Warhead storage building, the western wall was given glass with missile casings visible behind it. This is also present in Metal Gear Solid 4, but wasn't present in the original Metal Gear Solid 1. With Kojima saying that it was supposed to be, but due to technical limitations, wasn't able to be implemented. Various lockers were added to the Twin Snakes that weren't in the original. This was to allow the player to be able to hide the bodies of guards since, unlike the original, they don't disappear and can be found by enemy soldiers. If Snake kills President Baker during the boss fight, Ocelot will call you an idiot.
You idiot!
The elevators sometimes take a while to arrive, but if you hit the button multiple times, usually only twice, it will make the elevators arrive instantly. It's also worth mentioning the elevators are actually just a loading screen in disguise. Here's what it looks like if you hide the elevator doors. During the boss fight with Psycho Mantis, there's a secret way to defeat him that doesn't require you to switch controller ports. After Colonel tells you about using controller port 2, let Mantis kill you once, and then when you're back in the fight again, call Colonel and Naomi and they will tell you about the statues in the room.
Snake, is there some reason you can't use controller port 2? Ah, well, it's okay. Do you see something that looks like a statue on both sides of the room?
Yeah. You mean those things with their faces all wrapped up in leather bands?
Yes. Attack those statues to uncover their faces.
Why?
Those statues were modeled after Mantis's real face. Mantis despises the sight of his own face. If he suddenly sees his own disfigured face staring at him, it might break his concentration.
Snake, if you destroy the faces of those statues, you should be able to disturb Mantis's psychic powers.
When heading through the wolf caves with Meryl, the wolves are aggressive towards Snake, but they're friendly towards Meryl. If you smack her, she will have the dogs attack you.
What are you thinking?
But if you smack her and then immediately equip a cardboard box, the wolf will instead pee on Snake. After this happens, the wolves will be friendly to Snake whenever he equips that same box. Sniper Wolf's handkerchief, which you get from Otacon later, will also make them friendly to Snake. After Meryl takes Johnny's uniform, leaving him either naked or in his underwear depending on which version of the game you play, causes him to catch a cold. His constant trips to the bathroom are actually unrelated to the cold though, as Johnny suffers from irritable bowel syndrome. There's a unique glitch referred to as the weapon glitch that can allow Snake to bypass Sniper Wolf. He can then run all the way to where she is and even punch her to death instead of the standard fight. And Sniper Wolf will become very confused as to which way she is supposed to look. While here, if you get in her sights, she will hilariously shoot Snake all the way back to where he should be. In Metal Gear Solid Integral, if the player has a save from the original game, a new option called Alternate Round will be available. This will change the placement and patrol routes of guards throughout the base. In 2014, Snake returned to Shadow Moses in Metal Gear Solid 4, where we discovered that the island had sat completely untouched for 9 years, though it was now overrun with enemy geckos. Snake suffers from PTSD and experiences several flashbacks when you examine certain things and explore certain areas.
Hi, D. What's a Russian gunship doing here?
Wow, he must be crazy to fly hind in this kind of weather.
Who's that?
Among these callbacks are a boss fight with Crying Wolf, who you will fight in the very same snowfield where Snake had his final confrontation with Sniper Wolf. Now the whole reason for Snake returning to Shadow Moses was to steal the railgun from Metal Gear Rex, which is still resting in its final place after being destroyed by Snake. Along with this is one of the most epic fanservice moments I've ever experienced in a game where you pilot Rex and have to battle with Metal Gear Ray. An interesting coincidence was Naomi arriving at Shadow Moses, where she was once radio support for Snake. She was now here in person, and in the most heartbreaking, brutal, and according to who you ask, unnecessary moment in the Metal Gear franchise, it became the final resting place for both her and Vamp. In the original Metal Gear Solid, you could use the camera to take pictures around Shadow Moses, and depending on what photos you took, you could see secret ghosts, which were just actually developers of the game. These are once again present, with a total of 30 that can be found in Metal Gear Solid 4. If you use infrared vision with the Snake Eye, you can see the stain from where Otacon peed himself during the fight with Gray Fox. There was actually some cut content, which I'll elaborate on when I eventually do a whole video on Metal Gear Solid 4, but among the cut Shadow Moses content was the room where Snake fought Psycho Mantis, complete with flashbacks.
What's wrong, Snake?
The door that leads to the cave. I can't get through it.
Door? All I see is a bookcase.
Behind the bookcase, there's a door hidden back there.
Oh, the one you were talking about upstairs.
It leads to the cave where the wolf dogs lived.
Now that you mention it, I think I do remember now.
When I fought Psycho Mantis here, just before he died, he used his psychokinetic powers to move the bookcase. But now it's back in place, blocking the door.
I'll bet they put it back so the dogs wouldn't get into the facility.
Could be.
Nastasha Romanenko wrote a book detailing the events of what happened at Shadow Moses, and also served as a bridge to Metal Gear Solid 2 by introducing the Patriots as well as Richard Ames, who is actually her ex-husband. A journalist named Gary McGolden, who was a best-selling author in various conspiracy-related books, decided to go to Shadow Moses in 2007 and ended up getting captured by agents of the Patriots. Just as he was about to be executed, he was allegedly saved by Solid Snake while he was in stealth camo, though he believes Snake was an alien in disguise. Yeah, this is a bit odd, and his book, The Shocking Conspiracy Behind Shadow Moses, can be read in Metal Gear Solid 2. I haven't read it, but now I want to because it mentions so many weird things, including his visceral hatred of peanut butter, changing the words to a Whitney Houston song, and disguising himself as a tuna to sneak onto Shadow Moses Island. In Portable Ops, one of the online multiplayer maps is set in Shadow Moses, in the hangar that Metal Gear Rex is housed. In the B2 Warhead storage building, we learn that by 2014, all of the nuclear missiles had been removed, most likely to be decommissioned to prevent them from leaking radioactive materials.
I believe the warheads have been removed from those nuclear missiles. The amount of ionizing radiation the Mark III's Geiger counter is detecting is significantly lower than what we'd see if there were actual warheads present. Which means, obviously, that you can use heavy weapons without having to worry about igniting leaking radioactive material and causing a nuclear holocaust.
Nice.
VR Missions has a secret set of photo modes where you can take photos of both Mei Ling and Naomi. These are also probably the most detailed real-time character models on the PlayStation 1. In VR Missions, if you complete the game 100%, you unlock a secret photo of Metal Gear Ray. This was 3 years before Metal Gear Solid 2 was released. It's unclear exactly when Snake's VR training takes place, but it does happen aboard the submarine, most likely prior to his mission. If the player completes any VR mission before starting the game, it will add a line of dialogue. At the end of the game, Snake and Meryl will see caribou. These are actually reindeer, but they are also called caribou depending on the region, but scientifically and biologically they are the same animal. Only in the Japanese version, when Psycho Mantis is reading your memory card, if the player has a save from both Snatcher and Police Knots, both of which are Kojima games, Kojima himself will thank the player for their continued support of his games. If you submit to Ocelot's torture, you will get the stealth camo in your next playthrough, but if you resist the torture, you will get the bandana. Stealth will make you invisible, while the bandana grants you infinite ammo, and it's worth noting that using either will have no effect on your ranking. For some reason, during the final escape, the guards blocking your path can be controlled using a controller plugged into port 2. In the final section of the game, when driving in the Jeep, there's a final countdown timer. Once that timer runs out, however, nothing will happen. It can be seen as a glitch, but it actually makes sense since the missile strike that is supposed to destroy the base is called off. Metal Gear Solid is still one of my all-time favorite game franchises, and after all this research, I really want to play through it again, so maybe I'll do some Metal Gear Solid live streams in the future. But until then, I hope this was interesting, and if you learned something new, then be sure to carefully approach that like button so you don't scare away the caribou. If there's another character, location, or game franchise that you'd like to see a video on, be sure to leave it in the comments, and it might just be in a future video. Remember to drink some water and spend some quality time with your pets. Until next time, I'm Kai Morgan, and as always, thanks for watching Ink Ribbon. And a very special thank you to all of my Patreon supporters and YouTube members. Your extra support means the world to me and helps me keep making content for you guys.